Share my screen. Okay, so the aims of the parent workshop. So we're going to be developing parent awareness of how and why number is taught in school. We're going to be explaining the different concepts and resources that we use in school to teach maths. And we're also going to be providing activities and opportunities for parents to develop your math skills and knowledge at home. Okay. So breadth and depth of number. What is it? Why do we teach it? So you can see at the top here, these are the learning objectives that your child will cover. Some of the learning objectives your child will cover in FS1. And in maths, we're teaching breadth and depth. So we're teaching about the numeral, the quantity, the order of numbers. We'll be teaching the number facts, everyday maths, and the relationship between numbers. So it's so much more than just counting to 10 or counting to 20 or even to 100. We want them to really understand number and how we can use them. So we start with the basics with numbers to 10 first in FS1, and we move from the concrete. So we use concrete objects. So we start off with using lots and lots of resources. Then we move on to the pictorial stage, which is where the children can visualize the numbers, visualize those kind of math concepts. And then finally, we move on to the abstract stage, which is using numbers and things like that. So how can you do that at home? So here are some numbers, here are some ideas that you can use at home. So you could look for numbers around your home. What do they mean? Are they a quantity? It could be on the side of a packet telling you how many grams are in that packet. It could be on a number plate, having a numeral representing the number. And make links between different number representations you see around your home. So for example, when your child is 4, you can talk about the fact that they might have a number 4. Hi. They might have a number 4 on their birthday card, and then they might have 4 candles. Someone might talk about the fact that they were 3 and now they're 1 year older, so 3 and 1 are making 4. Also use numbers for everyday tasks. So say, for example, brushing your teeth or getting dressed. So the first thing you need to do is get the toothbrush. The next thing you need to do is get the toothpaste. And the last thing, the third thing that you need to do is brush your teeth. And just count everything. As adults, we intrinsically count things, whether that's putting apples into your shopping bag or adding up the total at the end. So show children that you're counting and that you're using numbers in your everyday life. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass on to Miss Conti, and she's going to talk about Crow.
Hi everyone. So yeah, like Miss Kim said, I'm going to speak about Crow and what it is and why we focus on Crow, especially in FS1. So Crow stands for Count, Recognise, Order and Write. So this is the way in which we teach number in FS1. So we always start with counting. And like Miss Kim said, it's not just about counting up to 10, counting up to 20. It's really understanding that number as a whole. And that's why we do focus a number on the week. So it's the way in which we teach number at school, and we teach them to always count first, and then we start to recognise the numbers. Then we look at ordering, and ordering comes after. So I know a lot of parents say, oh, but my child can count and recognise to 10. But we need to make sure they have an understanding as a number as a whole of what it looks like, how we can represent it in different ways. Then we start to move on to ordering. Writing numbers comes last. I know loads of parents are keen to get their children to write numbers, but we really want to make sure that they've got a solid foundation with their counting, their recognising and their ordering, and then that's when we start to look at writing numbers. So it's important because it shows the stages of progression and it falls in line with the stages of development. That's why we've chosen to follow Crow, and we teach it in school by doing the number of the week. We have various counting activities. We go on number hunts, and then when we start to look at writing the number, we will teach them a number rhyme as well. And now we'll look on to what you can do at home. Oh, and at the top, sorry, I have got the objectives there that will cover Crow. Sorry, Miss Ginn.
It's okay, really.
So now we're going to look at Crow at how you can help your child with Crow at home. So like Miss Ginn says, as adults, we count everything, and you can do that at home as well. So to help improve counting, you can get your child to count anything at home, such as cushions, shoes, their water bottles, their teddies, recognizing numbers at home. They can recognize their numbers in their environment, just like how we do number hunts in school. They can always do them at home. So if you live in an apartment block, can they recognize the numbers in the lift when you're walking past some houses, the doors in your apartment? Could they recognize what numbers there are? If they've got birthday cards, if it's someone's birthday, look at the numbers on there. Ordering at home, you can use a pack of cards. You can write numbers on bottles, get them to order them, even get them to, there's a picture at the bottom here with the Lego, where you can write it on the Lego and get them to then order it as well. And that also helps with their counting as well, because you'll have to think of the number that comes after. And then you can get them to count and check if they've got all the numbers correct, or if they're missing something. So if they've ordered to 10, but they've only got 9 count blocks, they then have to check. And then again, writing at home. So when you're practicing writing numbers, you can make that as fun as possible, writing in flour, in sand, in chalk, in rice. We will be doing that in school, and it's a fun way of the children learning how to write their numbers. So now I'm going to move on to Ms. Montenay, who's looking at everyday maths.
Yes, so just to reinforce what's been said before, everyday maths is about bringing maths into every part of our life, outside of school and inside of school. The objective from the curriculum here shows an interest in numerals in the environment. So it's about making maths a part of everyday life, not just maths lesson in the classroom. And recognizing and helping children to recognize that it's all around us. Encourage your children to look at signs or numbers on buses, to like what Ms. Conti said, floor levels in the apartment blocks, or on houses, so that they can see that maths is all around us. And it's not just something that's to be sat down and taught, or it's just for in school. Also, like Ms. Ginn said, that we use counting in our everyday life. If we're buying something and we're at the counter, if we're trying to find a house number. So all of those things to talk about your child, with your child, and encourage them to see the numbers in their everyday life. In school, we use everyday maths in our routines. So we have the daily calendar, we talk about what the date is today, we count who is in school today, who is absent. We talk about how many minutes until the lesson's going to end. And we also, when we're doing numbers of the week, we look for numbers around the classroom, around the school. So all of those things come under everyday maths, and it's very easy to do. How you can do maths at home. So similar to what's been said before, the objectives here are showing an interest in the numerals in the environment, and having the realization that it's not only objects that can be counted, but anything, the steps that we take to walk to the car, the claps, the jumps, everything can be counted. Also try to bring in some fun to the everyday maths. If you're making a cake, if you're cooking in the kitchen, involve your child. How many eggs do we need? How many cups, how many plates do we need to set the table? How many shoes do we have in the cupboard? How many teddies do you have? All of those things that are around your child can be used for everyday maths. It's also really important to listen to and sing counting songs. The repetition is very good for young children. They enjoy to be able to grasp the words of a song, and those songs with counting in, it helped them with their everyday maths, and there are some examples there. Also go on a number hunts with your children, encourage them while you're in the car or in the taxi and on the bus. Where can they see numbers? On the telephone, for example, clocks, car registrations, and really make it a fun and exciting time for them. That's Everyday Maths at Home. Now I'll pass on to Mrs. Jackson.
Hi everyone, and just excuse me if my daughter does pop her head in. She's here at home with me at the moment. So what we've got here is the core maths skills. So these are really important skills that we want the children to develop in order to help them as they're learning numbers, but also help them as they develop and go through their schooling. So the first one is one-to-one correspondence. So this is the act of counting objects, but giving a number to each object. So it allows for counting accuracy. So we do a lot of this in class. We link it to Crow. So as they're counting, we'll count objects with them as well. And often if they're up to recognizing numbers, that's when we'll get them to connect the number of objects to an actual numeral. So it's linking, but we do want them to try and touch each object as they go, or at least look at each object as they go so they're counting accurately. For subitizing number, now it's an interesting word to use, but basically what it is, it's identifying a number of objects without having to count them. So this is a really important skill for children to have. A lot of children in FS1 will have this up to maybe the number five objects, and we extend them to do up to 10 objects or more. And we use this by using numicon shapes, which are basically shapes that are designated to a particular number. And the children familiarize themselves with these shapes. So even if they have objects without counting, they could move those objects into a numicon shape and know straight away how many it is. Also, we look at ordinal numbers. So this is like positional language with numbers, looking at a race, first, second, third. We do a lot of play with the children as they're learning this concept. When they're doing running races in the playground, who came first, who came second, who came third. They'll have games in the classroom as well, that sort of thing, to get them used to the language of first, second, third, and so forth, up to 10th, 12th, 20th. All right, so what you can do at home, or what can be done at home to help encourage these important math skills. Firstly, things like counting, which we've talked about on almost every slide here. Counting is so important. Something as simple as if you've got steps in your house, counting those steps. It's really easy to do because one foot goes on a step and they say a number. So that's just a really easy way of doing it, but they can count anything as long as they are giving a number for each object. Showing a number, so a really fun way of doing, of helping to subitize number is to show the number. So, how many fingers am I holding up? Most children straight away will start 3. They won't need to go 1, 2, 3. They'll just know. So the more you practice that with them, especially using your 2 hands, it gets them helping them to subitize number up to 10. But you can use blocks, toys, anything that you've got in your house. And the third thing, helping develop ordinal numbers, is things like, having a running race, or when you're out riding your bike, have a race. Who came first? Who came second? Using cars, toy cars at home. Who doesn't love to have a toy car race? So they can do this at home. Which one came first? Which one came second? Which one do you think is going to come first? Why? How do you know that was the first one? How do you know that was the second one? So it's having those conversations, having some fun with it, but helping to encourage those really, really important math skills at home as well. Okay, passing on to Miss McCartan. Thank you.
Hi FS1 family. So yes, I'm going to conclude the workshop and talk about something that we call continuous provision. So in FS1, continuous provision is essentially a special area in all of our environments, in all of our classrooms, which is designated solely to maths. So within these areas, we put things like counters, we put shape, we put puzzles, we put all sorts of resources for the children to explore. I said a range of resources is my next point. These are usually linked to the children's interests and provides children the opportunity to demonstrate all taught elements of the curriculum. So in our maths teaching sessions, we will use the resources first, and then as teachers, we will place those resources within the continuous provision or in the special maths area. And this gives the children an opportunity to use the resources independently in their play. And that's what I mean by my third point when I say open-ended. These resources are available to the children in their play all day so that they can go back to the continuous provision or the maths area to practice the skills that they've learned in their maths sessions with the teacher. Yeah, and there is ideas for you guys to use at home to create a mini continuous provision area at home for your children. So lots of great resources we think that you could use at home to help the children develop their breadth and depth of number. So maybe like a little busy box alongside the rest of their toys would be nice if the children are having some maths at home. So you could include numerals on a card, even a standard pack of cards would be great. That's really good for subitization as well. Mark making resources, so the children could have a go at writing the numbers at home. All sorts of counting resources. I've given relatively inexpensive examples there, like seashells. If you go to the beach at the weekend and collect seashells, the children could then add this to their busy box and use it for counting at home. Bottle caps from our recycling, buttons and lollipop sticks, relatively inexpensive things that we also use in school for the children to count. We also use a thing called a 10 frame in school to help children with their one-to-one correspondence skills. And there is a good example of an egg carton with a numeral at the bottom, which the children could then use to count one-to-one correspondence. And then lots of different games that you can use with dice as well, a great way to develop subitization at home. So yeah, that's all for me. I'm going to pass back to Miss Ginn, who's going to take questions from the parents.
Hi everybody. So it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of how we teach maths in foundation stage, especially in FS1. It might give you some answers to some of the questions that you might have already if you've been thinking about things that your child's been coming home, things they've been saying. If you have any questions now, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. We can ask the team. I'll just give you a minute or so if there's anything that you'd like to ask or like to clarify. Okay, if you do have any questions, feel free to, here's my email address here. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Also, feel free to talk to your child's teacher. They know your child best and they'll be able to talk about their current target and some ideas of, what stage of development your child is currently at and how you can best help them at home. So that concludes our presentation now today. I'd like to thank you for your attendance and wish you well. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.